So I always looked at owning a business. Okay, so at one point, I went to college, and they I took care of that myself, and I didn't find it difficult. I just I found that if you put the time in, you could get it done. But at the same time, I was looking at this timeline of when I would be in college, and let's use 4 examples, and think of how many hours are spent, concentrating those 4 years into, your studies. And in addition, many people that paid for school are going to end up with a debt, and then you're going to end up in, as an employee, and you really got to do the numbers at what you can possibly make, and factor that in with your debt, and any type of financial freedom, and so on, and so I don't know. It really didn't make sense at first, because when I was in school, I did great. I remember making the dean's list in my last semester, and I started reading, and I started, because in your early 20s, 20, 21, 22, it's nice to have some money in general. And so I was waiting tables on the side, down the road, taking cash, and then I started to just look for opportunities, looking at other people, whether they're on eBay, and like contacting them and trying to break down, and because I really was hungry to make some money. And what I found was it was I remember searching, and I remember looking into affiliate marketing when no one ever spoke of it, and just starting to see the rise of it, or the mention of it, and that interested me. And then I remember searching one day. It was computergeeks.com. I think if it still exists, it's geeks.com today. And and it was taking overstock from the major brands, Hewlett Packard at the time, Compaq. Yeah, Hewlett Packard's still around. Compaq, Dell, E-Machines. And I also remember that's when it started to enter into like 1 gigahertz processor speed, and broadband started to come about. And so I saw these models, and most of them were like not always the model on the store, like if you went to Best Buy, or Circuit City at the time, or Electric Avenue, I remember, but it would be the model back. And it was like half the price of what you're seeing at the store. And you could get the store model as well sometimes, but it would be half the price in a bare bones system, meaning no operating system in it. So I just remember getting a hold of like volume licenses, and buying these systems and like flipping them on eBay. But then it started to like build up, and I was like, wow. And I was waiting some tables on the side, and money was adding up, and and then I read a classic, Rich Dad Poor Dad, like many of you have read, and it really made me think. And at the same time, I was in school, and man, it had me thinking. And so I could dedicate this 4 years of school, concentrated in it, and what would it yield me in the end? Or I could take that same amount of time and put it directly into myself, in my learning, and create a business. And really, there's no ceiling, and that's the beautiful part. Especially living in the USA, I have a deep respect for it. I didn't when I was younger, but I definitely do now, having been around the world. And a lot of things are changing in the USA now, but I'm talking about back then. I just had a deep, well, have a great respect, but it's really like you can make what you want if you put in the effort, so you determine that. If you work really hard and you focus and you're disciplined, you can make something really cool for yourself, for your family, and you can be free. I mean, because listen, we have this one life, or at least in this form, to live. And let's say the average age, we'll just go 70, 75, in your 80s, whatever. But at what point are you not as capable? What are your prime years? Some would say like up to 45, 50, your 30s. I'm almost, I'm 39. I'll be 40 next year, and I feel great. But I'm kind of outside of the normal society, and just kind of had that freedom that I work really hard to have, and so I don't think about the age as much maybe with people that kind of live in normal society, and maybe feel a pressure on their age for various reasons to follow this timeline. But I feel great, and but I realized then, let's say I have from like 20 to 40 or 45 to really be like active and able. And I mean, that was pretty motivating. I mean, if I could build something for myself in the short term that and work really, really hard and make sacrifices, and then that benefit me in the long term, then why not, And so that was the drive, and that was the focus. I wanted to have the freedom. At first it was for material things, and I just learned that didn't make me happy. And then I learned, when I used to work for the Department of Defense, and I got, the first time I left the country was to Iraq. And, in between there, you have to go through Dubai. I think my first actual country was like a layover, a 6-hour layover on the way to Dubai, which then to Dubai to Iraq. But that was the first time I left the country. But then I was working with people from around the world. And then you start to see the world, and you realize what is out there. It's not just this town you grew up in, which is safe. I always kind of wanted to run back to what I knew. But then when you know what is out there, and the world is really hard to go back home, when you know that there's this big, wide world out there, and things that operate in from town to town, country to country, or that work different than what you're used to, and it's very interesting, So I wanted, after having those material things that I wanted, I knew I loved nature. I knew I loved the beach. Like, I'm a beach kind of guy, and yeah, I ended up living in Costa Rica for 5 years. But first, it was a sacrifice in like building, this business. I won't go into all the nuances and like the ups and the downs, but I knew, like, I wanted to be free, and I knew I had to keep building on it, and just keep pushing forward. And I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I did, and because what it's been able to provide me, like, I have this string of memories that on a daily basis I'm just thinking of subconsciously. This memory will pop up, like over in somewhere in Portugal, Lisboa, and something over in Bulgaria. Just these experiences, and you can never take that away. You can't put a price on them. I have so many of these, and so many friends, and so that I felt like I've already lived a fulfilled life. I am so glad that I did that. I'm so glad I took those risks, because looking back in life, what would seem like hell to me is looking back on life when I'm not able, when I'm older. Our bodies are old, they're gonna fail us. We're gonna age. That's a part of life. And so, looking back and being in a position to where I wasn't as able, I know I could just picture it. I would be sitting there in bed or wherever I was, just thinking, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that? And the reason our brains want to keep us in comfort, but I mean, just taking that risk, and it's so funny when you're a decent person, when you're not an asshole, and you're really pushing forward and putting action into your intentions. It's crazy how these things just seem to kind of unfold, and it's too much to be coincidence, and but yeah, it's been a great life, and I just I don't regret any of it. And by what was able to do that is a business, and kind of going off on my own. And I mean, depending on the work that you want to put in, the time, the effort, you can really build, especially in this day and age, with this technology. It's probably never easier than it has ever been to do something for yourself. And so I didn't understand, like, working and doing the same thing, or maybe a 9 to 5, like day after day after day after day after week after week after week after week after month after month after month after month after year after year after year after year, when you could technically not work. You could build something for yourself that, whether it's employees or some type of passive income. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy to like fall in line as employee and follow this kind of like cookie cutter pattern. But you have the opportunity for freedom in this life and experience. And it made me so happy that I could be walking down the street at the end of the day many times in a different country, and just literally be so happy that I would cry, not a sobbing or weeping, but just a tear would come down. Like, thank you, like, for everything that had to come about. But it started with the work and the intention, and once I found that and felt that, my natural inclination was like, I would go back maybe to my hometown, or I'd be in a Walmart, and not everyone, but I see people like that didn't look happy. And I'm like, man, I wish they could just feel some of this, I wish we could all feel some of this. And yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way.